What is probate?
Probate is from the Latin word, and probate comes from the word in English prove. And when you probate a will, which is the verb, you probate a will, you're proving a will. And a will is just a piece of paper that somebody can handwrite or can sign with a bunch of witnesses if it's typed. And just because it says that I, Joe Blow, give Mary Smith A, B, and C, who's to believe whether this is true or not? So for that piece of paper called a will to be given effect and to allow people to transfer ownership from the deceased to somebody else, the will needs to be proven or probated.
Okay.
How that is done is by going through a court process called probate.
Right.
And it falls under the field of law called estates law, because it helps people address estates issues. And a couple years ago, not so couple, probably 1992, the estate administration fees came in, which levied a certain amount of money on top of any assets that went through a will. And as a result of that change in 1992, there was a huge movement away from causing assets to transfer via the will, and people in large numbers started doing what the caller is doing, which is putting assets in joint names so as to avoid the probate of a will and therefore avoid the tax that would be levied on the will.
Oh, okay. All right. That goes through a process of, is it an inheritance tax then?
I'm not sure if it's called an inheritance tax, but there certainly is fees that need to be paid to the province for assets to flow through the probate. So if the caller has $100,000 in a GIC and it's not in joint names and it needs to flow through the probated will to end up in the hands of the beneficiary, some of that $100,000 is going to be chiseled off.
Is it much? Do you know?
I believe it's around 0.5% for the first sum, which I'm not sure if it's 50,000 or 100,000, and then I think it jumps up to 1 or 1.5% for a sum above that. But on larger estates, it could be significant money. On smaller estates, it may not be so much. But either way, it's money that could be saved and not be paid to the government if the asset was held like the caller. That's right.